everyone, and welcome to episode 133 of the Giddy Knits podcast. As always, I am Helen and I am coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband and my two boys. Today is Wednesday the 9th of August and this is my crafting podcast, where I talk about whatever crafting projects I've been working on between episodes, I guess. Welcome back to everyone who is a regular viewer, and hello to anyone that's new and checking out the podcast for the first time. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, it's been a while again, I know, and I hadn't intended it. And in fact, I actually sat down last Monday and recorded an entire podcast episode. And then I came to edit it in the afternoon, only to find that something had gone wrong with my camera and half of it hadn't actually recorded properly. So I'd intended to record last Wednesday instead, but then I got a rotten head cold that just wiped me out completely and took me out of action for 3 days. And yeah, I still sound snuffly now, as you can hear, although I am well on the way to being over it. It's just that annoying residual coldy sound. But yeah, so it's ended up a little bit delayed. It has worked in your favour, however, because I actually have more to share with you than I did in the episode I recorded last week, because I've had more time to make more progress. So that's good. So what have I got for you in this episode? I'm going to start with a quick announcement section. I've then got a finished object to share. I've got a couple of works in progress that I'm going to talk about. I've got some blanket progress to talk about. We're then going to set some goals, which I will talk about later. I've then got a little bit of Yarny Goodness to share, and then I'll finish up, as I usually do, with a little bit of shop news at the end of the episode. So, fingers crossed my camera works. I've already had a couple of issues with it not recording properly, but I've tested it out and tried a few different things. So let's hope this goes smoothly. But let's start with announcements. So it was just a reminder that we have got the ongoing Giddy Yarns make-along, which is a make-along based around my yarn. Did I say that I'm the dyer behind Giddy Yarns? I don't know. But that is what I do. I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns. That is my full-time job. And as a way of kind of giving back to my customers, also because I get to see all your amazing projects in my yarn, which is amazing. I have a make-along that I run ongoing, and I draw prizes every quarter. So as long as the yarn you're using, as long as the project you're making uses at least 50% of my yarn, then it's eligible to be entered for a prize. Doesn't matter when you started it, just when you finish it, pop it into one of the threads in the numerous places you can enter, and you'll be in with a chance of winning a prize. You can enter on Instagram, you can enter in our Ravelry group, and you can also enter in our Discord group. The full details of how to enter and links to all of those places are down below underneath the video, as well as links to other bits and pieces that I talk about and lists. I don't tend to link to the other makers and things like that, because especially when it comes to patterns, it's just a difficult thing finding them on Ravelry and off Ravelry. So what I tend to do now is I just give you a list and you can stick it into Google and it should come up straight away. If you have any issues finding any of the people or patterns or anything that I mention, then just drop me a message and I will find you a link that suits you. But it does save me a lot of time not having to find all of those links. And it also means that you can use whatever website you want to use in order to look those things up, rather than relying on the link that I give you and me having to find multiple links, so that people who can't access Ravelry at the moment are able to still access the patterns, basically. Yeah, so everything's below the video. Right, I have got a finished object to share with you and I am very pleased with it. Here he is. I have finished my Nifty. Nifty the Gnome is the most recent mystery knit along, The More You Gnome, by Sarah of Imagined Landscapes. And isn't he great? I absolutely love him. So he has got a hat that features mosaic knitting, and this is the first time I've ever done mosaic knitting, and if you're a regular viewer of the podcast, you'll know I am not a fan of stranded knitting. I said stranded dye works. That's not true. I love stranded dye works. Jude is amazing. But I am not a fan of stranded colour work, where you're holding multiple colours and as you're knitting in the same row. I've really struggled with it. I've tried multiple times, multiple different techniques, and the only projects that I have ever successfully completed using stranded colour work are gnomes, actually. So it was nice to find a new technique that gives the feel of stranded colour work, but doesn't actually do it the same way. So with mosaic knitting, you're only ever working with one colour, and then you're slipping stitches from the row previously, which are in the other colour, to give you that kind of stranded colour work effect, basically. So yeah, I really enjoyed discovering that new technique, and I'm definitely going to look up some more patterns that feature that feature mosaic knitting. He's got a cool little tassel on the top of his hat. I love the kind of high-low brim on the hat as well. That's a really nice feature. Giant nose. We can't not talk about the giant nose. I love the giant nose. And then he's got little feet and little arms. Now, I do wish when I'd sewed the feet on, I'd put them a little bit more to the middle, kind of like there-ish, I guess, because they are slightly wide apart. But actually he sits quite nicely with them like that, so it's not too bad. And then he's also got little arms as well. So yeah, that is my nifty gnome. The yarn I used from this is my own yarn. I was one of the official dyers for the make along, for the mystery knit along this time round. So I put together kits. I'd seen what nifty looked like in advance, so I knew how to kind of put the colours together. I knew which colours needed to contrast really nicely, and yeah, I put together kits with nifty specifically in mind. This, I believe, was my jewel kit. I do have kits available on the website still, so if you didn't join in with the mystery knit along but you'd quite like to knit your own nifty now, then I've still got kits available if you want to order them. The kits will also work for pretty much all of Sarah's gnome patterns. Any of the patterns that use 3 skeins of yarn, any of the kits will pretty much, well, 3 mini skeins, sorry, any of the kits will pretty much work for that. So yeah, that is my nifty. I'm going to pop him back here next to Neil the gnome, who hasn't moved since I finished him. I need to go pop him somewhere else really, and we'll see how long Nifty remains, how many podcast episodes before I actually find Nifty a place to live in the lounge with the rest of the gnomes. Right, works in progress. So there are 3 projects that I have picked up over the last few weeks. As you'll know from the last episode, if you're a regular viewer, I was about to go on holiday, and I picked a few projects to take with me and then did none of them while I was away. It was far too hot, and although I had quite a lot of downtime just sitting and chilling in the sun, which was lovely, I spent most of it reading and didn't really grab out my knitting. But I have made a bit of progress on them since then. So, first of all, which way should we start? We'll start with the one with probably the least progress. And that is my Sound Waves cowl. I have picked this up, and I am definitely picking it up a lot more regularly. Oh, I've just dropped the yarn that it's attached to. I have picked it up a lot more regularly since I stopped doing the pattern. So, this is, as you're sick of this project, I'm sure, but this is the Sound Waves cowl. It's a pattern by Ellie of Craft House Magic, and it's like one of those infinity cowls. So you knit in the loop and then you're going to graft the ends together at the end. And it features this textured pattern throughout it. I did that for about the first 10 colours, and then I just kept making mistakes, and it was frustrating working out where I was every time I picked it up. So I decided that I would stop doing the pattern and I would knit the rest of it in just plain stocking stitch. And I'm so glad I did, because actually I'm making so much better progress and I reach for this a lot more. The last time I showed this to you, I think I was just where these bells are at the beginning of this green colour, and I am now, what, maybe halfway through the pink? I've said before, but I love the way that Ellie designed the yarn. So the yarn for this, I didn't say, did I? This is an advent calendar from Ellie at Craft House Magic as well. This was her 2022 advent calendar. And I love the way she designed it in blocks of 3. So you've got 3 sets of colours. So at the moment, I'm now working on these pinks. So it will be these 2 next. If the camera will focus, there we go, those 2 next. And then we move on to 3 kind of peachy colours. As always, excuse the state of my fingernails, I have been dyeing yarn. And then we finish off with 3 greys. And then that will obviously loop back up and join with the original 3 colours, which were kind of browns and pinks. It was those kind of 3 colours at the beginning there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying how this project is working. It would be really nice to get an advent calendar off the needles before December comes around. I was hoping to get more than 1 advent calendar worked up, I will admit, but we'll see. But yeah, that is my Sound Waves cowl. I am still making some progress on that. I'm actually going to move the little progress keeper up now to the pink so that we can see where I've made progress next time. Rescue the ball of yarn I dropped. So that is one project that I'm reaching for regularly at the moment. And the second project that's had a little bit of progress on is my vanilla socks. So I believe, I'm going to flick back in my show notes quickly. Oh, it won't tell me. I believe the last time I shared this with you, I had finished a sock. So I'd finished one of the vanilla socks, or maybe I hadn't. There's a progress keeper by the toe. Had I finished this sock? I'm not sure. But no, I think I had actually, because I was planning to take the second one on holiday with me. So I think I had finished the first of these. So these are just plain vanilla socks using a Stylecraft commercial yarn, which we believe is in the Ben Nevis colourway after a little bit of internet sleuthing and searching. And I have cast the second one on, and I've not made masses of progress, but I have started my way down the foot of the second one. I am not matching them, as you will tell. They are not going to be matching. I don't tend to bother matching commercial sock yarns. I will tend to match indie dyed self-striping, but commercial sock yarns like this, it doesn't bother me. I quite like them being slightly odd, and yeah, I'm not worried about getting them to match, so I've not bothered. But yeah, this is now my easy to pick up reading knitting again, which is good. It stalled for a little bit because of the cuff. I always stall when I have to cast on a new cuff. And then the final project, which I have made some progress in, and I'm just going to grab, if I can, a sock blocker. And that is my bookshelf socks. So these are a pattern by Becky, who has the Becky Knits podcast here on YouTube. And it's a great little pattern. I've changed it slightly because I don't like to knit patterns on the back of my foot. But yeah, here we go. So I have finished one of the socks. The last time I recorded, I just put the heel in. So the little duck is where I was. And as you can see, it features this fun kind of textured pattern that looks like books in a bookshelf. And the original pattern features it all around the leg of the sock. And I'm sure I've talked about this before on previous podcasts, but I tend to do 68 stitches for my socks, and that often means that pattern socks don't translate very well. So I tend to just keep the pattern on the front of the sock, and then I can just add a couple of knit stitches to get the numbers up to the right amount, and then keep the back plain. And that way I can still have the pattern down the front of the sock, but not the back. I also find it makes it quicker for me to knit them because I'm only having to worry about the pattern on one of the needles and not two of the needles. But yeah, they are my bookshelf socks. And I haven't cast on the second one yet. I really need to cast on the second one, to be honest, because otherwise they will just sit and not get knit, and that would be a shame. So yeah, the second one definitely needs to be cast on as soon as possible. The yarn I'm using for these is, again, it's a Craft House Magic yarn. I think I did find the label for it. So it's from the music from the movie Sock Club in 2021, and this was actually the May colourway, and it is Take My Breath Away from the Top Gun film. I really love this colourway. It's not my usual colours, but I'm loving the like pops of purple. Let's see if I can get that to... I'm loving like the pops of purple in with the reds and oranges. It's really fun. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I need to get the second one of these cast on. But that's, whoops, it was me putting the sock blocker away, sorry. That's the main things in terms of my regular works in progress that I've been working on over the last few weeks. But I do have a bit of blanket progress to share. So I got a little bit obsessed with one particular blanket project. After the last podcast where I picked up and shared all of my current blanket whips, it did exactly what I was hoping it would do, and it inspired me to work more on my blankets, which is great. But I got a little bit obsessive with one of them. And that one is my hexie blanket. So this, although it doesn't look any bigger yet because I haven't actually joined the hexagons that I've crocheted yet. This is my crochet hexagon blanket. So it's made up of little solid granny hexagons, which I'm then just joining together without a border. I'm really enjoying it. I'm aiming for more pastel colours in this one. There's a couple in there that are slightly darker and brighter, but I'm aiming for more pastel colours within it. And I just love it. It's such a fun blanket. Each hexagon uses about 10 grams of yarn. That was one of my goals when I started this blanket. I'm not following a particular pattern, but I did follow a tutorial by Bella Coco for solid granny hexagons, I think is the name of the tutorial, to create my first hexagons. And then I think I probably also followed a tutorial by Bella Coco for joining them. I'd imagine. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, I'd always recommend Bella Coco for simple crochet tutorials, especially if you're looking for kind of UK... Is it all in UK terminology? I know she's British. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I have made some progress. How much progress, you say? Yeah, you've probably just done a handful of hexagons. I've done a few. Got a bit obsessed. Shall we see how many I've done? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we're getting there, I promise, 15, 16, whoops, 17, 18, and the final one, 19. 19 hexagons I have made over the last few weeks. Yeah, they were just really fun to make. they made me really happy, and I just enjoyed being able to do littler, smaller kind of little, I don't know, I like blankets that are made in pieces like this because it works quite well to be portable. They're quite nice and quick to pick up and do one without having to leave them half finished quite a lot of the time. So yeah, my next plan is to get these joined on to the blanket, which will almost double it, because I think I checked and there's something like 23 hexagons in the blanket already, so we're going to be adding another 19 to that, so it's going to grow in size quite considerably, which is a nice feeling. But I think I'm going to work the blanket this way a little bit more regularly. So whereas before I was crocheting up a hexagon and then joining it, I quite like the idea of just crocheting up a pile of hexagons like this and then joining them in one session and it growing kind of exponentially. I dropped a hexagon, whoops. So yeah, some definite progress has been made with my hexagon. I've also made a little bit of progress with my Mild Magic blanket as well, although I haven't brought that to show you this week. But I will hopefully make a little bit more progress and share that one with you next week or something like that, next time. But yeah, it has inspired me to pick up my blankets a bit more, so I'm really glad I did sit down and do that video and talk about my blankets in that video, because actually often pulling things out really does inspire you to pick things up that little bit more, doesn't it? So I wanted to set some goals. As you'll know, if you're a regular viewer, over the last few months I have been struggling with feeling like I'm not getting much done, I'm not doing much knitting, I'm not reaching for my knitting as much as I'd like to be, and a lot of that is because life has got busier, the business has grown, and a lot more of my time is focused on that, and to some extent by the time the evening comes round, I don't really want to be thinking about yarn stuff as much because I've been doing it so much during the day. But that doesn't mean I don't still love knitting and still want to spend my time focusing on knitting. I just think I need to be a bit more focused with it, I guess. I don't know. I respond well to setting goals. So we're going to set some goals. That's what I'm thinking. So amusingly, I did this in the failed episode last Monday, and the goals I set myself were that by the next podcast I wanted to finish one of the bookshelf socks, which I did, and I wanted to finish my gnome, which I did. But that wasn't by the next podcast because that podcast never happened. So we need different goals. So I was thinking I would like to get all of those hexies joined onto that blanket. By the next podcast, I would like to have all of those hexies joined onto the blanket. That's a simple goal. That seems relatively sensible. I would also like to finish my vanilla sock, because that will actually be a pair of socks finished. It's a really simple one. I'm not changing colour for the heel or anything like that. So yeah, I would like to get that vanilla sock finished. And the other thing I've been itching to reach for, so I thought I would add it as a goal between now and the next podcast, is something I haven't picked up and reached for in weeks, months even. And that is my cross stitch that I've been working on, which is this one here. So this is the British Isles Adventure. Is it British Isles? I can't remember what it's called. Is it on the thing? I don't think I've actually got a printout of the thing here. Anyway, it's from Caterpillar Cross Stitch, and it is their British Isles mystery stitch along that was running for the first 6 months of this year. So I believe all of the parts of the pattern should be out now. I worked on it really well for the first few months and I kind of kept up to date with it, and then things got busier and it just got put aside and I've not worked on it at all. I haven't even looked at the more recent patterns, so I don't even know kind of beyond the first kind of 3-4 months, I don't even really know where it's going. But I really want to pick this back up again and work a bit more on it. So that is definitely going to be one of my goals between now and the next podcast. I'm not going to necessarily pick out how many bits I'd like to get finished or specify it in any way, but I definitely want to pick up and make a bit of progress because I was really enjoying it and I kind of miss working on it. So yeah, cross stitch is another goal. So these are my 3 goals that I'm getting you to hold me to by the next podcast. I would like to pick up my cross stitch and make a little bit of progress on it. I would like to join all of those hexagons into that hexie blanket. And I would like to finish that vanilla sock. Now that seems really small goals, really simple goals, and that's kind of where I want to start with this, because I feel like small achievable goals will work quite well. I've noted them in my podcast show note kind of thing, so we can check back in the next episode to see whether I managed to meet those goals or not. So we'll see. If you fancy joining me in setting yourself some goals between podcasts, then why not drop down in the comments underneath the video, why not drop your goals that you want to set yourself for the next time I podcast. You want to have completed this particular project, or you want to have got past this stage on a project. And we'll check in together next podcast and see whether we've achieved those goals and made those goals, because that would be quite fun. Let's hold each other accountable. Right, the next thing I've got is a little bit of Yarny Goodness. Now, I'm not actually sure whether I've shown you one of these already or not, but we're going to show them both now just in case. They are both from Spectrum Fibres and they are both yarn clubs. The first one, I believe, was the June yarn club, and the second one is the July yarn club. I have a suspicion that I've already shown you the June one, but I'd obviously not put it away because it was sitting in my box of things to share on the podcast. So I may have already shown it to you, but it's gorgeous, so I don't see why you wouldn't want to see it again, to be honest. And this one is called Stars Aligned. I've talked about how much I'm enjoying this club, and I'm definitely going to go through at the end of the year. I will go through and we will have a look at them all and pair them up and hopefully put some together in projects. Then the July one that arrived last week is this colour here, and this is called Oasis. It's going to blow out wonderfully with my lights. There we go. Let's try it back here. It is those kind of minty greens, but also with really bright neon-y greens and emeralds and stuff in there. And actually, these two go quite nicely together. There's definitely some links in the colours there. So some of these colours are going to work beautifully paired together in projects. Definitely, I can already kind of see something in mind, but I don't know what. But that is the Yarny Goodness. And then I was just going to finish off, as I usually do, with a little bit of shop news. So what have I got? Advent invoices. The final Advent invoices will be going out this week. I'm hoping to start them possibly this afternoon. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to see how time goes. But they'll certainly be all out by the end of this week. And I haven't double checked. I think most people are up to date with them at the moment. But yeah, August will be the final instalment for the Advent pre-orders. I've started dyeing the Advents this week. So what I generally do is I will do a full test run of all colours 1 to 24, one batch of each colour, so that I can get them dyed and dried, and I can kind of lay them out next to each other, and I can make sure that I'm happy with all the colours. And in this year in particular, because it's going to be a fade, I need to make sure that the colour progression works and that nothing is too similar but also nothing is too different, and things like that. So I'm in the process of doing that at the moment. I've dyed the first 16 colours. By the end of this week I will have all 24 dyed up, and then that's when batch dyeing starts in earnest, basically. So once I've got the recipes for all the colours sorted, I will then go back and I will work out, right, colour number 1 I need to dye this many batches of, and I will just have a day dyeing all the batches of colour 1, all the batches of colour 2, all the batches of colour 3, and go through like that, basically. But Advent dyeing has started, so that's exciting and slightly terrifying as well. Lord of the Rings dyeing is also in progress. I will have all of the dyeing for the Lord of the Rings pre-orders done by the end of this week, which is brilliant because they're shipping out at the end of next week. So that gives me plenty of time to get them skeined and labelled and packed and shipped out on time, which is brilliant. I'm going to actually record a bit of a workday vlog around dyeing up the Lord of the Rings pre-orders. I've been recording little bits of snippets here and there as I've been dyeing, and I will sit down and do a bit more of a workday vlog about that. Hopefully it'll probably go out sometime early next week. Maybe. We'll see. I do have another new collection launching at the end of August. So the second half of the Beatrix Potter collection will be launching at the end of August. I believe it's launching on the 25th of August. So it'll be open from the 25th of August until the 1st of September. And that is 6 new Beatrix Potter colourways. I will also open up some of the most popular of the previous round. So the part 1 of the collection I'll open up. I'll probably Jemima and Peter. I'll open up pre-orders for those ones as well, because I know I've had a few people ask about that. And then I have a shop update on Friday, which is basically going to be lots of random stuff. So I've got a whole host of club spares from both the Fantasy Club and the Colour of the Month for the first 6 months of the year, which I'm going to put up on the website. I've also got Hobbit minis and Beatrix Potter minis that will be going up, because I've got spares of those from the last round of pre-orders. And I can't remember what else it was. There's a few things. Actually, I've got a list written here. Oh, I've also got some spares from the Botanical Dragons pre-orders as well, and some spare minis from the Botanical Dragons. They'll be going up. And then there's just a few other random colourways that will be getting restocked, because I've had dye to orders for them, and I've got extras that just need to go in the website. So yeah, Friday I will be having a shop update with all of those kinds of things heading into the shop at my usual 7:30 p.m. kind of time on Friday. I've done the stock check of them all. I just need to get all the photographs and the listings and stuff like that done over the next few days. So that is that. Yeah, that's that. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to finish off just with a quick reminder that I do now have a Patreon for the podcast. If it's not something you're interested in, then do not worry. The podcast and my workday vlogs and my December Vlogmas series will still remain free on the internet, on YouTube, for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. But if you are interested in getting some extra content and extra bits and pieces, then the Patreon is there for those that would like it. And it's been really, really fun. I put up a poll today for our 3rd exclusive Patreon vlog, and deciding what that's going to be. It's always quite fun from my perspective to see what you all vote for, because that's quite fun, and it also gives me a little bit of structure as to what I'm going to record for the Patreon vlogs as well. So hopefully I'll be getting that recorded up later this week. If you join the Patreon and you're new, you do have access to all of the previous stuff that's been there. So all of the workday, all of the Patreon exclusive vlogs, that's the word I'm looking for, are already up there as well. We have the Patreon book club as well, which is currently, we are into the 2nd month of reading our current book. I've actually finished it and I really, really enjoyed it. So if that's something you'd like to do, join us reading along with a book. We pick a book every 2 months. I do a little video at the beginning, and I'll be doing a little video at the end summing up kind of how I found the book and what I thought about it, hopefully. And yeah, there's just lots of extras and things like that. It's also just... it's just a nice kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying getting to know you a bit more, those of you that have joined the Patreon, and it's encouraging me to create more videos and things, which is what I wanted it to do. So that's really good. So yeah, if you're interested, all the details are down underneath the video. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let's go with that. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon, probably in about 2 weeks' time for another podcast episode, but I will be getting a workday vlog up before then as well. So I will see you for a workday vlog next week, hopefully. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.